Welcome to the 2022 general election for the student representative on the Board of Education elect, or SHRAB-elect. This election was filmed at the CCPS Central Office on March 15th and consists of speeches from the two candidates as well as a question and answer session. This is an extremely important election as it determines the person who speaks on behalf of your future school experience, so we ask for your full undivided attention for the duration of this recording. After viewing this recording, students will receive a virtual ballot and be asked to vote between the two candidates.
The student representative is a unique position that is part of the Carroll County Student Government Association. They represent the over 25,000 students of Carroll County Public Schools. Candidates run in their 9th or 10th grade year, shadow the current student representative the next year, and the following year after that actually sit on the Board of Education. This is the election for the student representative who will serve during the 2023-2024 school year. The SHRAB attends every public Board of Education meeting and works with the other board members and the superintendent to make sure that the opinions, views, and positions of all CCPS students are well represented.
And with that, we will introduce our panel, which consists of members of the elected officer team of the Carroll County Student Government Association.
Hello, I'm Emily Tedeschi, the current SHRAB-elect, and I will be the student representative in the 2022-2023 school year.
Hello, my name is Devanshu Mistry, and I am the current student representative on the Board of Education. I have served on the Board of Ed during the 2020-2021 school year and the 2021-2022 school year.
Hello, my name is Jamie Hahn, and I'm the president of the Carroll County Student Government Association.
Hello, my name is Nikki Zhang, and I'm the vice president for the Carroll County Student Government Association.
Our two candidates who have advanced from the SHRAB primary election are Chloe Kang, a 9th grader from Liberty High School, and Sathish Sedakar, a 10th grader from Liberty High School.
So everybody here has a specific place that they love to be in, whether it's been in a friend group, in a family, you've got a dining seat somewhere in the cafeteria, I'm pretty sure. And here I am asking for you to give me a spot on the Board of Education. My name is Chloe Kang. I am a 9th grader, so a freshman at Liberty High School. And I've probably been on the soccer field more times than I've taken tests. And I actually just started up tennis, so I have been practicing tennis more times than I've been sleeping. So, as a SHRAB-elect candidate, I feel that the need is for diversity, inclusivity, and a sense of preparedness for people in Carroll County. Especially during COVID, we have all been trying to find our footing, and it's not really working out in some places. And as SHRAB, I feel that I would have a better platform to speak the ideas of many people all around Carroll County. I am a very headstrong person. I know when and how to get my ideas across, and I'm not afraid to back down from any challenge I face. And this is also applied from, 9 years of playing soccer. I know how to be strong. I know how to work as a team. And as SHRAB, it's not just a position, it's a sense of leadership in a community. And I have to be a part of this family of a group of students from all around, and I am a very versatile player at that. In the end, we all have that one person we go to, and I've got multiple. I've got connections from people all around. I know many people from different schools because I've played on sports teams with them, whether it's like lacrosse, field hockey. I work at jobs, I work at the library, and I've met many, many students who, share my love for books. And just overall, I have outside county experience as well, so that brings in another perspective for me to understand how important it is to work together. In the end, I am sure that diversity is a big deal in Carroll County. We are seeing a very big influx of, people moving into our county, and we want to make them feel included and feel safe and to understand how important education should be to these people and to the people already existing within Carroll County. For this, I will be, for policies, I can forward more bills or just ideas that education must be, widely spread. It should be for all people, regardless of income, regardless of gender or race. And it's something that, should not be a privilege, but something that everyone has. like a thing, like a need. And in that sense, I feel that with all my experience as, you know, an SGA, starting from 6th grade all the way up to now, and I hope to further that continuous experience, I feel I would be the best candidate for this Schwab elect. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Sathish Sedakar and I am here to stand by you. Not just as a leader, but as a representative and as a friend. I'm a sophomore at Liberty High School and I have lived in Maryland, specifically Carroll County, since the 4th grade when I moved here from a small town in California. I was born where I was born. My parents are from Chennai, southern India, and I am a first-generation American. My first experience in the student government was similar to others. I started as a homeroom representative in the 6th grade. Everything was new and different, and watching some of the most passionate students take lead made me think that I wanted to help others this way too. So I became treasurer in the next year, and then communications officer in 8th grade for Oklahoma Road Middle. This is also the year that I joined the Carroll County Student Government Organization as a staff member. Back then, I had just as much passion as I do now, but I didn't know where to gear it towards. However, I was inspired by watching and observing so many amazing students take pride and joy in serving our community. Currently, I am the workshop director for the CCSGA because workshops are my favorite part of a General Assembly because of how it can enrich and improve other students. I'd like to take a moment to ask you all a question. Since this is a video, I know you can't shout out answers like this, but it is something that everyone can think about. I'd like to ask, what do you think we can do better for Carroll County schools? Now, this is a question that you probably have many different answers to. Maybe you'd like better funding for your clubs, or you wish students could feel safer, or maybe you're just looking at this video of a random person that your teachers are making you watch. Through all these different answers that can come from this, there is one similarity. We are all thinking about our schools and what we as students can do for our schools and what we want for ourselves. It's such an amazing thing to see that we're all in this, and there's no such thing as a problem too little to care about, which is exactly why I am running for student representative on the Board of Education. We need a student who can be your voice, who can take these ideas you thought of and bring it to action. I am here today because of my conviction and passion to serve you. The position of student representative on the board is so crucial for the voice of students, for our needs, and for our grievances to be heard. The issues we face as students should not be diminished. And in order to create positive impact and change, we need a representative that can speak for us, for you. There are far too many students in our county that feel uncomfortable or unsafe in their school environment, especially considering recent incidents that have occurred in the past few years. In order for students to feel safe to speak out, we need to make sure that our schools have safe spaces, and we need to make sure that we have a guarantee that our administration takes all students seriously. I would give a list of statistics on the decline of mental health and the increased pressure faced on a student, but we can all understand just how stressful school can be. Recently, there's been a proposed bill that would allow students a mental health day per quarter, which is excused, and that would be something that would be a great way to prioritize the mental health of students. We must ensure that your voices are heard so that change is possible, because change is not going to be easy. These implementations, these processes are a difficult journey ahead of us, but it's not impossible. As a student representative, I will make sure that underrepresented students are not silenced, but heard. I will speak for those who can't, and I will continue to serve and represent our amazing community of students. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for your amazing speeches. Now we will be moving on to the question and answer session, where candidates will be able to respond to questions that have been predetermined or pre-made. Time cards will be held up at 30 and 10 seconds, and candidates will have up to a minute to respond. Emily will start with our first question.
What is your main platform of issues that you would like to conquer during your term?
I would like to conquer diversity and then preparedness, especially with COVID. We have a lot more resources that have been shared with us, and a lot more resources that we can seek out. So for these resources to be distributed among every school, for every teacher, for every student, for administration to understand these types of issues and how to tackle them would be a huge help. And then diversity, trying to have, all these different clubs or organizations, or as Sahi said, safe spaces that we can create for people who may not feel as, as the majority, as a minority student.
I would like to first address the issue of the mental health of students, because recently, because of the pandemic, students have been put in the situation where we don't know how to adjust to this new environment, to this new way of learning, because we just came out of virtual learning, and some people are having difficulty with the transition, and some people are having difficulty with getting back into the groove. And no matter how much time you take, if resources aren't provided to help students with their mental health, to help students who are facing depression and anxiety in times like this, then there won't be a way for students to ever feel safe in their schools. We need to make sure that our schools are given places where students can talk to teachers and adults who they trust, and make sure that students are given a way to not only feel safe, but feel better with their mental health.
What are some other issues that you see at school, and how do you plan on fixing them?
Some issues I see at school are the lack of funding we have for a lot of clubs in our schools, because I've noticed that so many students have come complaining about how their sport is not receiving the same amount of attention as some of the bigger sports or some of the male-dominated sports. And I also see how some clubs are struggling to bring up any amount of money because members have to pay dues in order to be a part of the club, when that just isn't okay for a lot of students. So one thing is bringing more attention to our clubs and our schools to make sure that students have those safe spaces and don't have to feel like they need to pay for them.
For me, I feel that we have so many opportunities that people tend to miss out on, whether it's that they don't care for it or that they certainly just don't understand that these are opportunities that they can have. So I feel that we should have a more transparency when it comes to opportunities that students can receive, such as scholarships or perhaps small events that the media or library just doodles out. We have a 3D doodle thing. We also have after school drop-in tutoring that people tend not to use as too often as some may want. So for us to have more voices speaking out or transparency on these issues would be beneficial to a lot of students.
How will you gather opinions from all schools in Carroll County and not just your own?
I am friends with a bunch of people from all over Carroll County, and I have multiple ways to be contacted. And because also COVID years, I've kind of gotten a handling of how I can do social media and things like that. So I would be open to having multiple platforms where people can reach me in case some people don't have social media and prefer to, email somebody. I also feel that I can work with other people, so I can reach out to other SGA leaders in different schools and work with them, talk to them, and have them gain a sense, because again, they're the ones who are closer to their own people, and for them to understand them would help me beneficially to understand them, their school better, without, trying to juggle too much on my plate, but still having that wide variety of understanding.
I think that in order to make sure that communication is very good between schools for the SHROB should be able to be very accessible. I should be able to be easily connectable from social media, through email, through messaging, and we should also find a way to have a more direct contact, because although social media has been a very helpful tool for the past decade, there is something just amazing about going to schools and talking to students in person and talking to student leaders from all these clubs and asking them what they think they can do to improve their schools. So the SHROB should go to schools and perhaps visit schools and talk to these leaders in person and ask them these questions and bring back ways to the Board of Education to find ways to improve schools and find ways to better benefit our students.
How will you prioritize the Schwab position and your other academic or extracurricular activities?
I think that in order to prioritize this position, I need to make sure that I am secure with all of my other things I do, because the position of Schwab, being a voice to over 20,000 students, is probably one of the most important things anyone can do. And this has to be a priority for me. And in order to make sure that I prioritize it, I would manage my time. I would make sure that although I make sure that I'm doing well in school, I also make sure I put a lot of time and dedication into making sure that the students are doing well and that we as students are doing okay and in general feel comfortable, and make sure that along with the communication aspect, make sure everyone is being communicated to equally so that we have time for this job.
I've prioritized many things because of sports, and I have a really firm understanding of what it means to, juggle school, work, extracurriculars. So I have that sure footing that, yes, I know exactly how to prioritize my work. I've kept up my grades, I've been on multiple club teams, and I've picked up high school sports and clubs, and I've been juggling all of them equally very well because I know how to block out my time. I know how to ask for help, which is a very important part. And I can, build a group at Schwab to help me distribute my time as well, so that it's not all concentrated on me. I get more perspectives from people, and I also distribute the work so that I can have more transparency in the work that I do.
What are your biggest weaknesses and strengths?
So for my biggest strengths, again, I'd say prioritizing. I'm very good at that. Multitasking is a weakness of mine. I tend to, if I have one thing, I'm going to block it into this one time. And then once I'm finished with that, I'm going to block it into another time. I feel that sometimes I can run out of time in that kind of sense, but time blocking to me is a more efficient way. So multitasking is definitely a weakness of mine. But on that note, I'm very concentrated in what I do in those time blocks, so I can always, move forward with my sense and, kind of shift my schedule if I move faster, if I'm more prepared for my work, and I feel that is my strength.
I think one of my weaknesses is that sometimes I end up taking too much than I can handle, which is something that I know a lot of students like me can relate to, because we take on so many classes and we take on so many clubs, and sometimes it can get too much. Sometimes there is too much for us to handle. And in order to do that, I just prioritize. I decide what is most important for me to do. And something that I have gotten very good at, one of my strengths, is recognizing my priorities, recognizing that there are things that are more important than attending all the club meetings, and there are things that are more important, like my own mental health, like the mental health of my friends, and making sure that we all still hang out and we all still remember that we do have lives outside of school.
What is a challenge that you have faced, and how did you overcome it?
One challenge that I have faced was back when I was younger, and I ran for second vice president of the CCSGA. Now, this may not be that big of a challenge, and there have been a lot more pressing challenges, like a family death, but this was something that spoke to me because that was an election that I had lost, and I was devastated because being a middle schooler and being very afraid of speaking out loud and worrying too much about what a lot of people thought of me, I was so concerned by all these factors that I realized that I loved helping people, and I knew that no matter what election I would lose, I would still end up doing what I can to help other students, to help kids who are struggling, to help people like me and people who aren't like me.
For me, a challenge is one I've been struggling with right now is I recently injured my knee with a bone bruise, and it's been really hard for me to walk actually and run. So to combat that, actually this happened like a few months ago, and I'm still recovering from it. You have to have a sense of patience, especially with knee injuries. It's not something you can take a pill with and it disappears immediately like a headache. It's something you have to, have self-motivation to continue doing these physical exercises to train your body to remember how to walk again. It's to have discipline, to say, no, I can't stay out with my friends for too long before, the next day I know for a fact that I'm going to be crying, that it's hurting too much. So for me, it's the fact that, my knee injury has taught me so much on how to be patient and how to understand my body and how it works, and to ask for help if it hurts, and, to kind of reach out to people and ask how they're doing as well to help me feel a little better.
What do you think the role of student opinion is in making decisions about educational policies?
Student opinion can be very diverse, and it's something that people have to come to a compromise on. It's a bunch of many voices, but it's finding that middle ground. Education is for the many. It's for what people can think as a privilege, and I think that underrepresented people, as well as major groups in Carroll County, should find a middle ground in understanding that funding is a very big issue. Teachers are a very big issue. The curriculum is a very big issue. How to go about tackling that will take a lot of effort and a lot of work, but it's something that I definitely can do. It's something that I have faith that people will actually help each other as well.
In order to make sure that we find a compromise between the adults who make the decisions, who often make decisions for us and without our opinion, we need to find a way to bring student opinion into this. We need to find a way to have discussions with students so that way that we can find a way to balance, because students don't have any control over the curriculum, but we should. We should have some control. We should recognize that there are some things we want to learn and there are some things that we don't. We should recognize that there are some things that are unupdated in textbooks. There are textbooks that are far too old and that are not ready to take on this new generation of students. We need to make sure that we have something for us as students to discuss on, to speak out on. For our education, it shouldn't just be leaders who are adults to tell us how and what we want to learn. We should also be able to control some of that. And in order for that to happen, we need to come with compromise. We need to make sure that our leaders listen to us. And we need to make sure that there is a way for student opinions to reach the Board of Education.
So the Board of Education is comprised of mostly adults, and there is usually a disconnect between students and adults. How will you effectively ensure that the student voice is being heard in that environment?
In order for the student voice to be heard in an environment where it's often more than not, disrespected, we need to find a way to make sure that the Board of Education understands that our grievances are to be taken seriously. We need to make sure that these student opinions are not just opinions, but they're issues that have probably been occurring for a lot longer than most of us have been students in these schools ourselves. We have issues that people face discrimination, and sometimes the Board of Education doesn't take these complaints as seriously as they should. And in order for that to not occur again, we need a student representative to make sure that these voices of many students are heard, and we need to make sure that they listen and understand that our voices are to be taken seriously and are to be listened to, and we have to make sure that everything is applied. And thank you.
I've worked with a bunch of adults in my life, starting with coaches and library staff, and just in general, I've been around so many adults. So I know that there is a certain sense of maturity that they expect. And I also, communications-wise, it's not all social media, and it's, usually more relying on emails. And I've written a whole bunch of emails, especially over the summer, trying to get these, different types of like job opportunities or just opportunities where I want to grow in as a person. So I know how to write these emails so that they can be more comfortable in talking to me. It's having, a sense of professionalism and maturity and, self-confidence that I know that I can talk to these adults and that they will listen to me because I have ideas that are worth listening to.
How do you intend to use your position to improve the school system within Carroll County?
The Schwab Elect is a highly important position when it comes to educational policies that are being passed. So for me to have this position, it would be more of a leadership role, like a community issue. I would have to understand multiple viewpoints and multiple perspectives to be able to have a firm understanding of what truly is being a problem in Carroll County. And because of this, I know that I can share these ideas no matter how diverse they may seem because I will have a background information. I will ask questions if I need clarity.
In order to improve the system within the student representative on the board has the key opportunity to go directly to the Board of Education, to speak out on these issues and to make sure that students with direct opinions and thoughts and all their ideas can come directly to the Board of Education. And the Board of Education can change policy. Policy is how we impact real change. It's how we make sure that the voices and thoughts are not just being heard, but they're being listened to and action is being taken. Student representative, we should make sure that the Board of Education can understand these policies and can understand these thoughts and ideas and make sure that they implement them into our school system.
What makes you the better candidate and why?
I do not think I'm the better candidate. I think that my other candidate is also very amazing. I've just been in CCSGA for such a long time, and there's so many ways to take action and ways to gain student voice and ways to collect student opinions that I've just sort of gained through my experience. And even without this experience, my other candidate has so much, can talk so much to other people, and I think that that's amazing, and my experience does not diminish theirs.
I have experience with time blocking and just the overall pressure of how much a leadership position is. I am a leader of an organization that I founded in Maryland, and that pressure of being a leader, of people looking up to you, it's something that I've come to, grow on. It's something that I do enjoy, having a voice, being a voice for people, and prioritizing is definitely a strong suit of mine now because of just how many years I've been in SGA, in sports, in extracurriculars. And also, Sahi, you are amazing. But yeah, I just feel like I have a bunch of different voices, a bunch of different connections that I can bring to the table.
And that concludes our general election. Thank you, everybody, for looking at this recording. Thank you, students, for utilizing your right to vote and choosing the next representative on the Board of Education. Thank you, candidates, for your amazing speeches and responses. And thank you, Mr. Melhorn, for organizing this whole election for us. And last but not least, thank you, Mr. Flaherty, for organizing this whole setup and being the mastermind behind the camera. We hope that this election goes well and that this increased democratic process can be something that is beneficial to the future.